with the most recent set of Raw Yellow being revealed, and everyone excited for a lot of fan favorite cards finally coming into the game. Of course, I was tagged by a lot of people when it came to Arcana Force, the Hanged Man finally coming in. And, just seeing what they would do to modernize it, because there's no way they could release it in its anime version because they want to make this deck somewhat playable. It was between this and another card that I'm not even going to bother to announce or pronounce. And basically, I follow some groups on Facebook and on Discord about Arcana Force and the theories behind the cards. And right now, it's pretty much a big consensus that a lot of the people are more excited for the other card, which discards 2 to special to search for any coin flip card. And the reason that there's more hype for that is because it doesn't take up your normal summon and it can search any, which some people want to cut the goddess card. And granted, this deck is never really going to be a meta deck unless they just revamp every single card and actually made them good. But you still have to play a lot of the old bad level 4s and all that. So it's one of those things right now where you have to kind of work with what you got. And I do think a lot of people are dismissing the Hangman a bit too early. A lot of people are saying that they're not even just going to play it at all, because it's like, why bother? I think that's the wrong mentality. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they still retained the original effects for the Hangman on summon, which I do wish it was a bit better, but I understand what they're going for with it. And the big thing is this card can be played on turn 0. And you can do stuff. And, of course, anyone who knows Arcana Force, there's not very many great targets. You could summon the Chariot. The Chariot has a 50-50 chance to just stay on your board or go to your opponent's board. Lovers. It could just not be tribute fodder, which could slow you down in some capacity. The Emperor just does nothing. You have the Empress, which has a 50-50 chance of giving you a decent effect. But the thing that matters the most about the Hangman is being able to actually, in theory, put up cards. Now, the reason I think it's not so smart to quickly say that this card's not going to be useful is I'm convinced, once again, that we'll still keep getting more Arcana Force stuff. There's still plenty of spell cards and monsters that they could print because they have not finished the whole collection. The Strength is still a big one, which could act as a turn 0 Holy Sue in some ways. Honestly, I prefer a Light Barrier Retrain because that card is awful. It's awful how underwhelming that card is, but that kind of makes you wonder. The Fiend isn't worth summoning. The Emperor's not summoning the Lovers. No one's playing the Magician. You're not playing the Fool. So what is the point of turn 0 play? Well, there's technically 2 cards that we do currently have that are viable to summon, if not exceptional. But what I mean by this is, of course, the 2 cards that you would want to summon to the field is Arcana Force 5 and the Sun. These are the 2 best cards to summon off in turn 0. And the reason this is, you have a 50% chance of being able to nuke back row. So this could be excellent in a well-timed position to deal with the Dracotail board, for example. That would really cripple them. You have a 2900 body on the board, which means if you have another Sun in the hand during your turn, if you get access to Light Bearer, you can just start actually comboing, and now you have 2 bodies on the board before your turn begins. But I think the superior choice is Arcana Force 5. And the reason I think this is the best card is it doesn't matter what this lands on in theory. It depends on the deck. But in one hand, you could go with the Heads effect and get another level 4 on the field. That means before your turn even begins, you can get into a rank 4. Or you could, do this effect and either summon the Sun on their board to attempt to nuke it, or attempt to summon, if you really want to be risky, summon the World, but I don't recommend that. You want to do it when you know you can just get rid of it. And while the Tails effect of this card is phenomenal for you, If you can just add a card back, if you have like a hand trap or something, it's not worth it because they might just skip your turn. So your options are very limited, but Konami wouldn't randomly make a turn 0 play, but there was an application. So again, why would you want to do any of this? Well, for one, this guarantees 2 bodies on the board, which means you only need 1 card investment to go into your boss monster, which actually does make your go in second a bit stronger because now you have a floodgate that demands a back row interaction. Because if you get Light Barrier out and then randomly plop this down, now your opponent's board is pretty much shut down. The only thing they could have left is hand traps, but that said, it just does give the deck actual ways to go second just a bit more, because now you have 1 less body on the board to do it. And again, like I said, with the Sun, you have a monster with a coin tossing effect, so you can get special. Not to mention, this card luckily does not discard itself. So once you actually start playing, you get that free body that you would have normally have gotten. So let's say you play Light Barrier. If I'm remembering this card, I believe it's when a card or effect is activated. So you could play Light Barrier, special this, and then commit this immediately before you, let's say you have another copy of this or this. This actually doesn't matter. Plus this can pop a card. So you get to get a little burn that helps you with the OTK lines. Again, this is not phenomenal, but this helps a lot. I think for the people that are generally interested in actually playing this deck, or at least talking about like what can you do with it, most people are talking about how you use it during your turn, which is very valid. And that's probably the best way to play it. There are going to be situations where I do think summoning this or this to it, and again, it's part of Arcana Force. You have no control over flipping the coin. So you have to gamble. This is the safest one because it doesn't matter in theory what you do. You summon this, you put this on their board, 50% chance to nuke something, it doesn't. If they're not playing like a Link deck, then they just have a body on there that you can just contact fuse off. Or, you know, we get another, like, let's say we get the Strength, again, because I think the Strength in the anime can take a card. If they print really good busted effects for the Strength, then, you know, where the heads or tails doesn't matter, that could help this deck along the way. But I do think we're still going to continue to get trickle support for Arcana Force, because now that it just seems like Konami's pushing more and more for the turn 0 stuff, and this actually is huge for just getting a body on the board in the first place. And of course, this pairs very well when you actually go first. Just getting that extra body so you can at least hit on this if you can't turn skip your opponent. Again, there's mostly bad cards to summon here. Again, I really hesitate. You could summon the world off of this card so you can just have it on the board, but you're not going... It's all once per turn effect, so I get it. You could summon the Fiend, but again, that's just not worth it. You want that card to search Light Barrier. Now, unless you have access to Light Barrier, the Fiend isn't actually terrible. Because, let's see, the Tails effect. Yeah, you could just get a free Raigeki if you really wanted to, or get a Fenrir pop and burn. And, you know, I'm just saying, there is potential for the turn 0 aspect of the Hangman, but I think some people are dismissing it too much. And while the deck is much more consistent, it's very fragile to hand traps and stuff. And this does just help you get around a lot. Less investment into some boards and all that kind of jazz. I actually do think the going second variant of this deck is just going to get better with the Hangman, because now when you actually push into what's left of your opponent's board, you have more access. And again, you could use the 2 level 4s you summon off the heads effect here to just go full Fiendsmith combo. Set up before you invest anything. Again, it's technically a 2-card combo, but this 2-card could either give you another body there, so you can go into this guy, or you summon a level 4 from your deck, go into it, and let's say you just did not draw Fiendsmith at all. This is your just way to 1 card into it, which your opponent has to deal with that, and then you can just push with the rest. Again, I'm not saying this deck is very good at pushing, but it's in the theory of what you can do with this that I think is really cool. I understand why it's a once per turn effect, because that would be busted. But I think it's funny because it's Arcana Force is not known for once per turn effects. That's kind of what makes it so cool. If you can spam this multiple times, it's the risk and reward. But I don't think it's wise to dismiss the Hangman just so soon. I do think we'll get more cards that are way better to summon off of it. Because again, the older lineup is just not there. It's the newer stuff that kind of saves a lot of the deck. But being able to use it on turn 0, get a body to either go into this or link plays or whatever you want to do, and then having it for your turn to pop a card, be aggressive and burn, that helps you with OTKing. I think that is invaluable, and I think the reason it's ultimately better than the discard 2 is because the discard 2 is just more consistency, but I don't think it actually fixes the issue I have with the deck. While it has a nice effect to actually negate cards being added, I do not think it works with lingering effects like if Fua or Perilia has been dropped, and ultimately it's like, I want it to be a body so I can just OTK. I suppose the thing is that if you don't get to do anything with it, you get a card that can just negate searches. But a lot of decks don't need the search. They can set cards, so it's... If the cost was 1 card, I think that card would be playable beyond belief. But the fact that it's 2 means that if this gets impermed, this feels really bad. Because this deck's very fragile as it is. You need every bit of card advantage you can get. And I don't like the idea of dissing 2 so you can just get impermed. And then I just have a monster on the board that just says, I can negate your searching, and that's it. That's just me. I think the Hangman is definitely the better card. If the other card again was treated as Arcana Force, that card would actually be, in my opinion, just without a question, playable. Because that body matters for this, but that's just me. Interesting raw pack. The cards announced in there, some are definitely better than others. I'm looking at Dollhammer, but I think there's some good stuff here. I'm hopeful we get more spell cards for Arcana Force, like Reverse Reborn or Magician Scales. I could not fathom how they could print Magician Scales the way that it is in the anime. In the case you don't know, Magician Scales says tribute 1 Arcana Force to search for any spell card in your deck. Obviously, you would have to tie Arcana Force with that powerful card, and you could technically get any card that you want, so... I don't know. There's still a lot of room and potential for the deck and other cards that we'll get, but I think the Hangman is being a bit too cut down by the fans of Arcana Force too early. I think this is a sign for things to come. It'll probably be a while, but, you know, Arcana Force has had random trickle cards throughout the years, so it is just what it is. You know, we got our last real waves of support in 2025, and, you know, it's 2026, so who knows what's going to happen. The Fiend was a random card. Arcana Reading was a random card, so don't give up. We're probably going to get there someday. We're probably never going to be a meta deck, but it would be nice to be a consistent locals deck that you could bring and do stuff with. And whether that deck still is turn skipping or actually does stuff on the board, which I like more, even though the world skipping is funny. It would be nice to actually be able to do that, because currently as it stands right now, with the way that it plays, if you can't go into the world, just sitting on this doesn't feel the best, because that's all your board is. And if it gets impermed, one of the most played cards in the game, your deck just does nothing after that point. And your grind is not there either. Kind of off topic, if we did a light barrier retrain, I don't care if it's a Rhoda, but I would like it to be able to draw you a card or something a bit more aggressive. Maybe like your cards can't be destroyed by card effects. The targeting would be too much. But more importantly for me, if you wanted to fix a lot of the issues, you can shuffle back cards in your graveyard that mention Arcana Force or our Arcana Force cards into the deck, so that way you have some level of grind. Because then in the later of the game, with like Arcana Force 5 or the Sun, you can keep setting your cards and, you know, keep doing stuff. That way your deck actually has a somewhat grind game. Instead of playing a card, which by the way, it's criminal. This is so off topic, but it's so criminal that Light Barrier's highest rarity is a rare. Seriously, like, I know this card's not good or anything, but rare, this is the best rarity we have in terms of the highest. Come on. And I'm not over here saying, oh, well, we need the other Arcana Force. Like, yeah, they're not good cards. Most of them are not good cards, so I understand that, but Light Barrier, yeah, these need rarity upgrades. This would be great for a retrain, and I don't want to hear, well, that's not going to happen. Toon's literally just got a perfect rarity upgrade that fixed a lot of the issues in Toon. A lot. So it's possible. Konami has proven they can find creative ways to fix issues in decks. Light Barrier is just an awful field spell. And the reason it's awful is if you have to go into turn 3 after going 1, the fact that it can shut itself off is just dumb. I understand. I absolutely understand why. But this is not GX. This card is awful. And the life point game doesn't even matter anymore because time rules exist. So, anyways, that's a bit off topic. I do think the Hangman is a good card. I do think this is a sign for things to come. I do think we'll get the strength a bit sooner than we might be thinking. I hope that doesn't age poorly. Don't dismiss it. I think this offers much needed going first and going second and even turn 0 plays. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching, and have a good one.